Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I just want to say a few things about what I just watched last night. Oh, goodness. This is even all the more horrible in the fact that I did a double fucking feature for some reason. I did a double feature of this shit, guys. I watched the perfect original right before I watched this one. And I think a lot of people forget about how perfect the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre really is. It's one of those movies I feel like you forget about it until you're watching it, just how perfect it is. Everything about that movie, the tightly knit narrative, the it's so good. The tightly knit narrative, all the way which keeps you all the way to the dinner scene, which is so prolonged. And Toby Hooper just wants to keep you there as long as he can. It's such a drawn-out sequence. It's so wonderful. It captures glorious insanity on the screen just perfectly, bruh. And you know he knew just how good that was because of how long he wants to keep you there. And the scene just flows from one part of it to the next part of it to the next part of it just so perfectly. It's just so fucking good. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that the 2022 movie kind of had no chance for me because I watched the perfect original right before it. Let's just let's just start with the nitpicks and go through to the real problems. I don't really want to bore anybody with a huge fucking description of this movie's plot because it certainly probably doesn't even fucking deserve that. I'll just start off with like the main characters are like trying to like build a town or something. They look like they're barely out of college and they think they can just go renovate some whack-ass ghost town in the middle of Texas. Okay? It really makes no fucking sense. But they basically like the catalyst of this movie's plot is that they end up evicting the Sawyers, Bubba's, I don't know if it's his mother or something, or adopted mother or sister, I don't know what the hell she is. But they evict somebody They evict somebody in the Sawyer family out of the house, and Bubba like somehow teleports onto. I don't know how the fuck he gets on that ambulance without anybody fucking noticing, and I don't know how they don't fucking notice that that the guy next to them. They don't have no idea who the hell he is until the mom dies. But like once the mom dies, it basically sets Bubba on a rampage. That's this movie's plot in like a very tiny description. They end up calling Sally back, and we'll get into the problems with her in a second. But, nothing about this movie worked. Okay, nothing. Okay, first of all, it burns you on the ass right away because there's a lot of fucking forced political bullshit. That's the very first thing I want to talk about. It rubs you the wrong way really fucking fast. Okay, there's like the ethnic diverse cast is immediately like, the main character like immediately insults this white guy because he's got his guns and his text is like, why you gotta carry your guns, bro? Why you gotta carry guns? Is he compensating for something? And then the white guy comes over and harasses them and basically implies he wants to shoot minorities, which is real fun. This is real fun. It's really fun and really necessary. And then there's another stupid scene as soon as they get into town, and then the black guy sees a Confederate flag, which, I mean, the town probably hasn't been looked at in years. He's like, oh man, the investors are on the way, and if they see this, they're not going to want to buy the property. Just take it down, bruh. The flag is dusty and old. Even if the investors were there right now, you could say, oh, obviously, this is like one of our first times being here. We just haven't had time to really clean this place up as much as we'd like, but it's still good. I don't think any investor is going to not buy something because there's an old, dusty fucking flag from like 200 years ago on it. You know what I mean? I think any mature businessman is going to understand that. But like, and then in the confrontation with Bubba's sister mom or something, they like imply she's racist there too, and there's a school shooting thing with the sister that's never really mentioned or developed in any real way. Basically, there's so many political like jabs for like no reason. Like these things do not need to be in this movie. Okay? They really just straight up don't need to be here. They're here because reasons, I guess. I don't know what they're doing here. They're This is not, like, the way you kind of develop this shit. And, like, the whole point of the original was the fact that the main characters didn't have a lot of backstory because they were cattle. They were cows. They were akin to cows, bruh. They were lining up for the slaughter that the Sawyers were going to bring down on them. That's the whole point. That's why you didn't really get a lot of development. The horoscope said they were doomed. That's all you needed. They're walking in Texas, they're doomed. And then the drunk guy's like, I sense great danger or some shit. You know what I mean? They were cows. That's why the original was so great. It didn't really need to give you all that shit. But all this crap is there because they don't know what to do with their protagonists. That's the real reason it's there. They do not know what to do to create captivating, engaging characters. So they bring all of this forced political rhetoric into it in the hopes that you align with the main character's political beliefs so that you get closer with them as a result. Okay? It's very cheap and unnecessary and lazy. It's fucking lazy ass fucking writing. Okay? So right away, that gets you on no matter which side of the political spectrum you fall, if you know anything about writing, it should piss you off because it's bad writing. Okay? But those are just kind of the nitpicks that like make you not care about the main characters at all. Okay? The real problems with this movie are just with the general layout and the execution and like the general layout and execution of the story. Okay? This movie does not tell a Texas Chainsaw Massacre story. This movie tells a fucking Michael Myers, Jason, anybody could be in this fucking role, bro. You know, like just replace Leatherface with Jason and take the mom out and just say they find Jason in the house and then he starts a rampage and the movie's pretty much the same. And that's a fucking problem because when you're writing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, the entire focus, like, you should not be able to replace Leatherface with Michael Myers or Jason. That's something people really get wrong. Like, it really get it wrong. Like, fucking Christ, dude. Even, like, some shit like this makes me appreciate the remake way more. Because, like, at least the remake tried to capture some family dynamic. They knew they were never going to top what they did in 1974. So they didn't even try. They kind of changed it up a little bit. And regardless of not how you feel about those changes, like they at least knew and understood that the family dynamic is important in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These new movies like Leatherface and shit, they don't know how to capture it and they know they can't top it, so their solutions to not do anything. They kill the family at the beginning of the movie. Don't have them. It's a road movie. It's a generic slasher movie. Like, Leatherface can't carry a movie by himself. That's the cold hard fact. A Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, perfectly executed, is done via a combination of different threats and characters. And Leatherface is a piece to what makes the puzzle work. He's a piece to what makes the engine go and function. Okay? Without the family, he's nothing. And this movie really fucking showed that. This movie, above any other, showed the fucking weaknesses of the character. In huge spades. Even the 2013 movie. Yeah, that showed a lot of Leatherface's weaknesses and inability to carry a movie as well. But at least it had some family dynamic with the cousin. Do you think, cuz? At least that was something. Being a Sawyer was an important plot line of the story. It was shit. But, like, that movie had a better appreciation for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre legacy than this one did. This was nothing. Leatherface also looks like shit in this movie. I was not a fan of his appearance in this. I don't know what it is. I think it might be the hair. I don't think he has enough hair. But, like, his appearance in this movie just didn't really work for me. But that's beside the point. That's kind of a nitpick. But, like, the real problem is that he can't carry a fucking movie. Okay? So, next, let's talk about Sally. Okay? Sally was just pure nostalgia bait that failed for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons Sally doesn't work in this movie. Okay? First of all, they retreaded Halloween too much. This is something everybody said, and I think they knew that. It was very obvious that they were trying to make Sally different from Laurie in a couple of ways, but they really tried to like capture what Halloween 2018 did. But the problem is, here the difference between Sally and Laurie is that I don't find Sally to be as strong as Laurie Strode. Okay, when Laurie, even just on face value of the original movies, nothing to do with H2O or 2018. Laurie Strode, as a victim, was very competent. Okay, she ran and fought back and protected the children, and she was a very competent survivor. Sally Hardesty, she's not so competent. She does get away from Bubba, but like Bubba only breaks chase because he's at the Cook's gas station. If Bubba didn't care that he was at the Cook's gas station, she was dead right there. Okay? She starts basically pleading and begging for mercy at the dinner scene, and then she really only survives because they try to let Grandpa kill her. And Grandpa is not as good as he used to be, which creates an opening for her to get out. She's saved from the hitchhiker by complete fucking chance when the huge semi shows up and blows him to fucking smithereens. And then the guy who actually cripples Leatherface was the truck driver who throws the wrench at him. Sally doesn't do much to survive. She basically descends into madness and doesn't really have any control over her own survivability. Sally Hardesty strikes me as a gal who's gonna get the fuck away and never look back. She's the kind of girl who would move to a completely different fucking country rather than deal with Leatherface again. That's why her being back made no fucking sense. Okay? That's the real reason why it rubbed people the wrong way. Okay? Marilyn Burns is also dead, so it's kind of in poor taste to kind of bring her character back, played by somebody else. So there are a lot of reasons that they should have just not brought Sally back. If you're gonna bring Sally back, the time to do it would have been 20 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? But still, I like Sally Hardesty, okay? And I still think that the character deserved a bit more respect than what she was and than what she got in this movie. She doesn't fucking do anything in this movie. She shows up, okay? She finds the bus massacre after she's called. And like she finds the ambulance massacre after she's called, okay? And then when like she saves like the main characters like right after the bus massacre. I don't know how she knows how to call him Leatherface. The main characters are saying, "Get us out of here, get us out of here." Like the two sisters are saying, "Get us the hell out of here." And then Sally's like, "I've waited for this moment for 50 years." Like, it makes no fucking sense for her to not just drive away right there when she just does. Like, she's not competent. But, like, she says, it looks like you Daddy wants, and she kind of uses them as bait, which I thought was actually kind of cool. And it makes her kind of different from Laurie, because Laurie would never use civilians as bait. And Sally was kind of using the two of them as bait to kind of catch him. But, so, like, that was an interesting idea. But, like, they immediately, like, fuck it up. Because, like, their confrontation was so dumb. Sally immediately tried to get him to talk, which was very Halloween 2018. Also didn't work, because it's also out of character. Sally wouldn't do that. And they're just sitting there, and then Sally's holding the gun, and Bubba just turns around and walks away from her, because Bubba clearly doesn't remember her because he's fucking retarded. Okay? And so he's walking away, and Sally doesn't even shoot at him. Okay? So, it was so fucking dumb. And then their next scene together, they fight, and then Sally gets chainsawed. Okay, Sally gets chainsawed. And I know it's not Marilyn Burns, and I know that the character was dumb in the movie, and I know that it was kind of disrespectful to bring her back, and the fans weren't high on it. But it's still Sally. I found her getting chainsawed to be a little bit disrespectful. I feel like she should have been a hammer kill. I feel like she should have disarmed him of the chainsaw and looked kind of competent. And like the only reason he gets her is because he has the hammer as a backup that she never really saw, right? I know the grandpa had the hammer, but like she was all preparing for the chainsaw and that the hammer got her. So like I feel like she could have been handled a little bit more respectfully in this movie, even despite everything. Like I don't think people are gonna care that Sally Hardesty took a chainsaw. If Laurie Strode took the same death, people would be fucking pissed. But, like, I don't think Sally has that same level of respect. Probably because she's only really been in one movie. But as a fan of the original movie, I felt like they could have executed her just a lot better than what they did. Okay, and then the ending was just really fucking bad. Bubba has inconsistent characterization. He lays like a trap. I don't know why he was able to outsmart so many people in this movie because he doesn't have a working brain. He like lays a trap for him, and it's like intelligent. That's not Bubba. Like, was it cool? Yeah, I guess, but it's not Bubba. Bubba wouldn't do that. And so, like, the girl power, sisterhood, they come together, they hit him with the chainsaw, he falls in the water, and it's like, oh, wow, he's totally dead. Of course, the next scene, he comes back and decapitates the main character, and then he dances, and then the movie's over. Just fucking drag. The whole thing was trash. I could keep going. There's so many other things I could talk about in regards to this movie. I could pick this movie fucking apart scene by scene and tell you just why everything makes no fucking sense. Especially at the beginning with the mom and just some of the blocking and the TikTok shit with the bus massacre. There were so many things wrong with this fucking movie. But those will all just be nitpicks. The major problems are what I've brought up here. This movie's fucking terrible. It's so fucking bad. This franchise just needs to be laid to rest for a few years until it's time to give it another remake. These horror franchises are in an interesting spot because, like, what do you do with them moving forward? Like, because, like, people are going to want to watch a Halloween movie again, but, like, what do you do? It feels like we're going to enter another remake syndrome here pretty soon, where they try to go in new directions with all of these franchises and just wipe the originals from canon. I think that's just something they need to do moving forward with horror franchises. As much as you want to keep the originals in canon because they're really good and you want people to care about them, you can't keep running around with these old geriatric villains. It works for Myers because he's supernatural. That's why it still works for him. That's why I can suspend my disbelief, because we know that Myers has a supernatural element. But this geriatric Leatherface stuff, he's been geriatric for like the last 2 modern movies. Apart from the fucking Devil's Rejects ripoff. The 2013 one and this one, he's both portrayed him as geriatric and old in order to keep the originals in canon. We just need to move on. I would much rather than like do a modern remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it takes place in the here and now, so we can get like a young Leatherface in this new era generation if you're going to keep going with it. I don't know. This movie didn't work. That's what I do know. And if we want to bring this franchise back, we need to really seriously reassess what we're doing with it, because it feels like nobody wants to take the time to understand what Tobe Hooper did back in '74. They just want to rush something onto the screen, show a few chainsaw kills, make money. Ridiculous. This movie's fucking trash. I'm getting the hell out of here. GG's. Don't watch this fucking pile of shit.